Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows. I'm the director and owner of SnowPros Ski School based here in the Swiss Port du Soleil. You join us at a very, very strange time for the European ski season. All of the lifts here in this part of Switzerland closed on March the 14th, about halfway through what would have been a fairly average season, but given the weather that we've just had this week, just gone, would have been a really, really nice week for skiing, that's for sure. And the same applies pretty much all the way across Europe. I don't think there are any ski areas left open. I saw something on Facebook the other day that maybe there was one or two in Sweden and Finland, but for any reasonably accessible skiing, it's all closed, and that in itself has caused chaos within our industry. I myself run obviously a ski school and another business which sort of looks a bit like a tour operator, and it's absolute chaos. Last minute cancellations, refunds, all sorts of things to unwind, and of course the impact on my ski instructors who've all been sent home or had to go home and seek sort of alternative work, and there's no real at the moment. There's no real end in sight to this. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how these things play out over the summer and what next winter is going to look like. I think you're probably by now sick to death of everyone hearing about coronavirus and its various implications and people telling you what to do or what not to do. But that's certainly my experience anyway, and we're far from the total lockdown that they've got over on the French and the Italian side, where you literally need to fill out bits of paper to move around. We're still a little bit freer than that here in Switzerland, but I think it's coming. So I present to you to give you a bit of a skiing fix, but not much in these weird times. I present to you Malcolm Erskine from the British Ski Academy, and I managed to catch up with him to talk to him about what he does there. We talked a little bit about his skiing background, how the British Ski Academy works, and how they operate. So that's going to be the first half of this, and then I'll be back at the midpoint just to let you know what's coming in the second half. So enjoy this wherever you are, and I'll speak to you soon. Welcome to the Ski Podcast. Malcolm Erskine from the British Ski Academy. How are you?
Hanging in there, Dave. It's crazy times for everyone, right?
It's a very strange time, isn't it? So let's get this out of the way first. So you were in the epicenter of coronavirus in Europe until not that long ago. So the British Ski Academy is based in Pilar now, Pilar in Italy. And when did you manage to escape?
Well, it was an escape in a way. We were training the weekend, and we had school on Sunday. Most of the kids had school on Sunday, and was it Sunday the 15th? No, hang on, I'm going back. I've lost track.
Well,
Sunday the 8th.
Yeah, I'm having.
Where are we now? It's been a crazy week. So on the Sunday, just over 10 days ago, we had the notification from the guy at one of the joint owners of the hotel, who's a former World Cup skier and trains at a local club. And he said that he's just heard that the lifts might be shutting. This was about 2 p.m. on the Sunday. And one of our coaches made a very good point. Guys, we better get the kit because we have to relocate. So the coaches all went up to get all the gates down from the hill. Yeah. We don't actually, you say we train in Pilar. We actually live down on the outskirts of Aosta in a village called Saar. We took over a hotel there. It's the Hotel Panoramique. It's a lovely view. It's just above the town. Yeah. So in a way, we were self-isolating anyway. And the Aosta region had far fewer cases than London at the time that we left. But they were getting the problem for them. And Pilar's very easy to access from the big towns. So people were coming up from Lombardy. They were escaping and coming up to the big car park there at the bottom of the gondola from Aosta to Pilar, and they were just heading up with their germs, possibly. Yes. So that's why I think they had to close, and obviously it was clear that it was escalating pretty fast in Italy. But we got the information that it was going to close, or it could be closing, got all the gates down, confirmed at 5 o'clock that it was all closing. So then we were starting to make plans of where we're going to relocate. The next day, the coaches took the kids cross-country skiing. That's something to do.
Okay.
And meanwhile, I and some others went across to France and hired a big van and looked at, found an alternative for training in the Saint-Gervais region and Combloux, training at Combloux, in fact.
Okay.
Thanks to Simon Butler for the reference there, but also the head guy there is an old pal of one of our coaches, Alan Baxter. So it was some good links for getting some training.
Yeah.
Got back that evening, always planning to leave on the Tuesday, and I told the guys to start getting ready. But at 10 p.m., we heard the borders might be closing. Now, we, at that point, right, staff meeting in the lobby right now, and we're just trying to find out the information. We decided to get all the kids ready, woke them up, got out of bed, got them all packed, and then about 11:15, something like that, we heard from one of our contacts that the Mont Blanc tunnel was going to be closed from midnight.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure exactly how it all went, but I sent two of the vans that were ready. That was our fifth team. That's with head coach Alan Baxter.
Yeah.
He went you couldn't imagine. He just shot out. They made it to the tunnel at 3 minutes to 12, and Alan reckons that they shut it behind him because on the other side everything was shut, closed, no entry.
Okay.
They got down to a place there. I had 23 of the prefects, that's the younger children, and the rest of the team taking longer to get ready. And we left about 12:30, went through to, it seemed a better bet, easier to get out through the much quieter exit was the Grand St. Bernard.
Yes.
And with one of our families in Vila, very kindly put up the girls. We found a hotel, woke up this old lady to get everyone else in. And it just meant that, because just thinking, look, if we're going to leave, what do we do? Leave at 5 in the morning to try and make sure we get through, and then find, what are you going to do? You've got vans full of kids at 6 o'clock in the morning in France. You can't check in yet.
Yeah.
So we got out, and it meant everyone was able to have a lie-in and a good breakfast and kind of reassess. And we got most of the kit out that we needed out. With hugs and farewells to the very nice people around the hotel. Oh. But we did a moonlit flip, and out we went. But in the end, it was getting nasty everywhere. We got a bit of training in Combloux, but the snow was getting soft, and we were hearing reports that lots of things were going to start closing down in France and elsewhere, Austria, Switzerland. So we bailed out and got everyone home by last weekend.
Wow. Okay. What a story. That will go down in like British Ski Academy folklore, right?
Well, you've got to be mobile, and we were just about mobile. And the main thing is not to get stuck. That would have been a real pain in the neck for everyone.
Yes.
I don't know I don't know. I mean, I've got friends there now who, to travel, I've got a buddy who's in Gressan, and just for him to go around to a hotel and check a few things inside, I have to get permission from the police.
Yes.
Total lockdown everywhere. So it's very tough for those guys right now, and we had lots of happy parents who were a bit dismayed at first. This was all happening, but were very happy to get their children back.
Well, especially now, right? That looks like an incredibly good decision. It's funny. I was telling you earlier that I'm based near Champery, and just over the border. The border is not very far away, over to Châtel. And I know a lot of people over there, and it is like you say. People are having to fill in a form to go outside and exercise, or go to the shops, or go to the doctors or something like that. You have to actually take a form with you and fill it out. It's extraordinary times we're living in right now. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens next, eh?
Yeah.
For me, one of the lessons learned is keep your vans full. Don't let it go under half a tank. Keep everything full. Know where your passport is and get ready.
I think this is you outing yourself as a prepper. This is how it's going down. Okay. Yeah. I tell you what. Let's sort of go back to the start. So how did you end up? I've done a brief bit of research, but I deliberately don't do a great deal of research because I think it makes the conversation better when we have it. But how did you end up being the big boss man of the British Ski Academy? And what was your story that sort of led you there?
Okay, so I was a nearly racer. I was really good. I got to top 200 in the world in downhill rankings, which is good for a Brit. But I look back at my career, and I think a lot of coaches get into it because they feel there's unfinished business, so they you want to improve yourself on the coaching if you didn't quite make it as an athlete. And I've got an object lesson where to go wrong in my own career. But I had what I had from an early age. My dad identified. I think I was about 10. And we were skiing in the resort. I think I was made in this resort, Lenk, in the Bernese Oberland.
Okay.
And there's this flat bit and there's this steep bit, right? And you're a little kid, you're always trying to keep up with your big brother and your dad. So always chasing after them. And I'd fall behind on the flats and then catch up on the steeps. I'd just go straight. Yeah. So I obviously had something. I could stay centered, bouncing and flipping over, skipping over moguls. And I think he says it that I was 6 foot in the air shouting, "Come on, granddad," age about 9 or 10. He said, "Okay, well, maybe these kids are stupid enough to be a racer and an investigator." I ended up with the Kandahar Ski Club and then other ski clubs, and we've got a lot of school time training, not school holiday time training, right?
Yeah.
And I made it through sort of just on the national team, just on it. And when I finished, I had some nearly jobs, but I fell into coaching. I was coaching my local slope, and a few things happened that led me to, I got more interested in coaching around other places. And then a few things happened that made me question how seriously I was going to take this. And I was fortunate there was a ski parent who was a former canoeing coach, and he had Olympic gold medalist from canoeing. And he set up this club, a London Performance Centre, and I was coaching about half a dozen ski slopes. This is in the mid-90s.
Okay.
Lots of ski slopes, dry ski slopes. Because I did a lot of dry skiing. I was ranked number one a couple of times, 1980 and 1990. How about that for a spread? And I'd been British champion on the dry mat. Okay. But I could do downhill and I could do slalom and plastic and everything else was a bit sketchy. Yeah. But the progress into setting up the British Ski Academy, ran that centre for a few years. With actually Graham Bell was one of the co-directors, and Sean Lamier was one of the principal coaches. And things fell out with that. And there was a guy called Malcolm Howard who ran the ski high school. There was a precursor to what we do now. Yeah. And he had provided mainly post GCSE training, some younger ones sprinkled in there. And so he'd come to the end of his road, and I was looking to set up like a weekend ski academy for kids to come out for 3-4 days and keep up with their schoolwork, do regular hits during the winter. And he said, well, why don't you take on ski high school? I said, I wouldn't do it your way. It would have to be a new business, and blah, 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 blah. One thing led to another, and it was actually looking for the name. It was the then chief executive of the British Ski Federation, as it was then called, a guy called Mike Jardine. And he said, well, what is that? I said, well, it's a British Ski Academy. He said, we'll call it British Ski Academy. Yeah. And it took about 5 years of trading before we were able to register it with the British. So we traded under a different name before then, but we've been established so long now. So we were I got into training the kids from a younger age for consequential amounts of time and keeping up with the schoolwork. Never skimped on the resource for the teaching. So the teaching has always been really good ratios, and we've been fortunate, particularly when we were in Chamonix for 20 years, we were fortunate there. We used to recruit from the UK and bring teachers across, but actually we found there's some really high achieving people who end up in the Chamonix Valley with teaching experience who are quite keen on just getting some money along the way and feed their skiing habit. Yeah. And over the many years we've been doing this, there's been a lot of people who could have done more lucrative work, but like what we do and have been a part of it. But yes, I founded it in 1996, the British Ski Academy.
Wow. Okay. And there's a lesson there.
There've been quite a few spin-offs just in the last 10 years. So we were the only show in town, really, unless you were going to do an international academy. We were the only ones who were providing a satellite to the UK schools during the winter. Do you follow? There are year-round ski academies. You've got 5 of them in Austria that are fed €1 million per annum from the government in Austria to do their thing, and there's others in the States that get endowments and all sorts, and they do a fantastic job, those academies. For the UK, it's easy enough to get across. What do we need? I figured, well, we don't need a year-round one. We need a winter base, and that's what it's been. It's been a hub for really increasing the volume of training for British kids since the last 25 years now.
And there's two things. One, I was going to say that's an expert lesson in marketing. If you're looking for a name for your business, just call it what it is. Well, we call it the name. I think some people get a bit annoyed that we've got the name British, but we were the
the first full-on big, doing what it says on the tin, and all it was ever meant to be. It's a not-for-profit. I mean, this is a business where I'll say this up front and center. We make it. There are lots of academies now, but we've gone for the sort of inclusive style, and we've tried to make it affordable. It's an expensive sport, let's be honest, but we've made it more affordable. We've had some lovely people who've donated money for bursaries over the years. So any racer who's made the full British national team, who's come through a state school education, has used us to a smaller or greater degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, well, British in the name is just how it is, isn't it? But if it's a... yeah. Okay. No, that's fair enough. And so your model is a non-profit model. So is it a lot? Some of the others, I guess, some of the others in the States and stuff
I mean, in fairness to everyone, I don't know if anyone's making a lot of money out of it. I'm not a good enough businessman to make money out of it. But it's a wonderful lifestyle. It's something I've loved doing all my life, and I don't. What do I need?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't think there's anyone really, no one in the ski industry is really in it for the money. That's for sure. No matter how hard you try. But okay. So, in terms then, what do you do with the ski academy if it's for the winter? Do you spend your summers doing what I do, which is kind of plotting for the following winter, or are you? How does it? Do you have any activity in the summer?
Yeah, there's always been camps throughout the year in all the school holidays, and we're now in line with our competitors. We provide training, pretty much consequential training year round, so that you're getting all the indoor camps and weekend camps. There's a lot going on the whole time. We were doing camps down to. Wherever I've been, Chile, New Zealand, South Africa in recent years. South Africa's a funny one, but it's worked really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of strings to the bow that don't all appear on the website and what we publish, because you'll have select camps as well as open camps.
Oh, okay, I understand.
The main core of what we do, okay, at the top end, at the elite end, there's a lot of noise. There are a lot of people who are providing services for kids who want to make the national teams.
Yeah.
There's a good sort of 7 or 8 now, of which we're in the top. I'd say 3 or 4.
Yeah.
We've been very successful in terms of, in recent years, the entire British team at recent Olympics and World Championships have spent time with us. Some of them a lot of time. And that'll change. There'll be others coming through the other academies now, newer academies.
Yeah.
So we don't have, not that we cornered the market, but what we did was we showed it was possible. Then more people started doing it. So you've actually got a pretty healthy state of affairs for British ski racing. You've got lots of pockets of excellent activity at the dry slopes, indoor slopes, and there are ways and means to get out on the snow. Throughout the winter, and a hell of a lot besides. I mean, the guys who are going pretty much full time. We've got some boys who are out with Alan throughout. I cautioned against this. Some of them. There's one boy. I won't name names, but there's one boy who's done. I couldn't tell you the number of days off the top of my head, but he did a huge amount through the autumn. And I said that's going to hurt his schooling, because most of the schooling gets done in the autumn term.
Yeah.
And then you have the winter term or spring term before. For revision and exams in the summertime, exams in the summertime, right?
Yes, yes.
So he did fall behind a bit with his schooling, which made him more difficulties during the winter.
Yeah.
So there's a constant balance of what we're buying into is enabling the racers to have a foundation in the sport without jeopardizing their grades.
Yes.
That's the big thing. You can do both. It's just hard work and organisation and getting on with it. You can succeed in school, if you've got it in you, and in sport. I mean, there's some guys who, there have been boys, I think, I look back, who were, never going to make it in school. I was probably one of them. And it means fine, you've got to, there's a legal obligation, through your schooling to keep it up to a point. And I think it's really important even for those racers who want to go full time to keep educating themselves and, educating their minds and foreign languages. My goodness, if you're going to be a ski racer, you better learn French and German.
Yeah. Well, that's I agree with you.
And a bit of Italian doesn't hurt.
Well,
found.
So
everyone speaks French in Aosta, so hey, bada bing, bada bong.
They do actually. Yeah, it's one of the nice things about going to Aosta is I don't have to order anything in Italian, because everyone, it is I guess that region's been going backwards and forwards since time eternal.
Yeah, look at the place names. But also the other nice things about it, look at the lunch. You've got a €10 lunch. You can't get that where you are.
It's one. No, you certainly can't. It's one of my favourite things about living exactly where I do, because on the sort of the summer motorbike days when I go with my buddies, we can head off, and the mountain passes. The Grand Saint Bernard is 40 minutes away. Straight over to France. But one of my favourite trips to do is over the top of the Grand Saint Bernard down into Aosta, lunch, and then to ride that road back up. It's unbelievable. It's like a racetrack.
Have you done all the passes? Have you done them all yet?
Yeah, I'm working on it gradually, but I've got it's a question of time actually, and getting it's trying to organise.
Well, it's a question of borders reopening at the moment.
Well, at the moment, I'm stuck in Switzerland, so and limited by their speed limits. But trying to get my motorbike crew organised to go and do a day out or a couple of multiple days to go and ride some big passes is more difficult than you can possibly imagine. It's that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Since we were on the topic of schooling, because this is actually something that I often sit there and think about, how school could be redone in general. But let's talk initially about BSA and schooling. How does it work for the athletes that come? So they're in the majority are probably in regular school the rest of the year. So they'll be going to their local comp or whatever.
Yeah.
And they go there for the autumn term. So term 1, term 2, they come to you. And then term 3, they'll be back at their regular school.
That's right. So we act as a satellite to many UK schools.
Okay.
There are some schools that you try and steer people towards. It's saying, like, where's a good school to go to so we can carry on the skiing, and some are more amenable than others.
Okay.
So we've had lots of kids relocated to make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that answers the question. We act as a satellite to UK schools, but it's not as if a lot of times they are coming out for a season or for half a season, and I think some schools find it easier to sign off on that, and then maybe the student returns to have this work check. But so much can be done online now, with the checking, that it's actually that side of it's getting easier. Okay. But not all of our students come out for the whole winter. Some are just doing 2 or 3 weeks here or there, chunks, bite-sized chunks.
Okay. And what age range do they come to you from? What age range upwards?
So living in, you most likely be 11 and older. Sometimes you have someone like a 10-year-old, depends on the situation. Living out, we've had some fantastic little 7 and 8-year-olds this year. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh wow!
But the average trainee is about 13, 14 years old.
Okay, all right. And that presumably goes all the way up. Your FIS group will be up to 18 then, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. There's generally 18 and some 19 and 20 now.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's a great gap year thing to do. If you're really serious though about making the national team, then you're probably there. You should be on the team by the time you're 21, 22. I mean, look at Laurie Taylor was with us for 8 or 9 years. We couldn't get rid of him. He was there the whole time, and he scored his first World Cup points now in Kitzbühel.
Yeah, it's great, wasn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic for a kid. Just really, this is not a high income family. I won't dwell on it, but the boy spent a couple of seasons washing dishes at our old place in France to pay for a season. Really, even with a scholarship, you just got to do something. So and he was the happiest dishwasher you could imagine.
Yeah.
But it's all different. I think that we're inclusive and friendly, but what we've identified is that there are a lot of places. We've got a wonderful FIS team under Alan Baxter, legend Alan.
Yes.
He's really enjoying it. He was in his shop for a number of years, and just the freedom of getting out on the road.
Well, I was going to say that's what Alan.
He's a lovely guy anyway, but he's really happy in his work.
But he was getting quite the reputation, wasn't he, for being this sort of boot fitting guru up there?
Yeah.
And I've said he was on my list of people to visit, but he's decided to do something different now, which is I didn't realise that he ended up with you.
Yeah. Alan's we're not the only string to his bow, but he's doing a lot with us. He's our head coach on the FIS side, and his children are doing very well. so they're in the program, the younger program, and he's coaching the over 16s as a head coach of the over 16s. But I mean, he's a class act. I love it. We've got the gym all set up, so you see him. He's constantly in the gym, and so the trainees are just doing extra gym work just to hang around Alan and see the best. How do you become super fit?
It's funny. I went to the Basey Common Theory when you used to have to go to Scotland and do that. And one of our gym session was there was a physical training session or something, and it was with Alan Baxter. And I have to say, he's a proper gym monkey, right? I couldn't believe the size of this guy when I went in there. He was enormous. Yeah. Like, it looked like he's cut out of granite.
Well, on this ski racing, alpine ski racing is a strength sport. It's got balance. It's got all sorts of requirements, but you can't do it unless you've got terrific core strength. I mean, strength like a sheath of muscle from your thighs up through to your upper body. You just a whole shape. You look at the top guys. Any of them, they're super strong. The core strength is the thing that's changed a lot since since I was a kid. I mean, if you're not doing your 100, your sit-ups, and forget about it. yeah.
That though is interesting though, because I'd seen a couple. I remember hearing something about it this year. Was it this year or last year? That someone like Kristoffersen had actually managed to. He had slimmed down compared to where he was previously. He was carrying less bulk, I think it was, and I don't know what the idea behind that was. Maybe it was for more agility or something like that. But it was. I do remember seeing that last year. And I wonder, in kind of the technical disciplines, more so than speed. I think speed is kind of more strength, isn't it? But certainly in the technical disciplines, if you're making giant slalom or slalom turns, presumably you'd want to have a blend of agility and strength rather than just outright strength.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about the sport is that it takes all shapes and sizes and techniques actually over the years. On the technical side, maybe it's more similar than it used to be. There's not huge amount of line change. So in the slalom particularly, everyone's pretty much on that line, and if the course doesn't deteriorate, you can still get guys from the back doing really well.
Yeah.
So there's the Kristoffersen's movement. Have a look at his alignment at the top of the turn, at the end of the turn. He's doing something. It's a whole body move. It's not just from the hip, but he's applying the pressure to his edges. Very it's beautiful, and he ends up able to make super quick changeovers because he's in shape all the time. Dave's just beautiful to watch. Not the strongest, not the most agile. If he'd got that good just a few years younger, can you imagine just those last 15, 16 gates where he needs to keep the power going?
Yeah.
But what a fantastic skier, beautiful technician.
It's one of our recent guests, I think it was the last one, or one of the others. It was guy from Sun Valley, Taco, and he was saying a similar thing about being balanced above, above the boot at the top of the turn, and that was his big thing. And I see that a lot. You see it with Dave. You can see that his equipment is perfectly set up for him, and it allows all of his body movements to do what they need to do. And Kristoffersen looks the same to me. It looks like everything is he just got it dialed. Everything is correct to his body.
Well, I'm not the guy to speak on this. Alan can look at a race and he knows if there's a problem with the setup.
Oh, really?
And looking at the low suspension system, the stiffness of the boots, and the edge, how you set up to tune the skis, everything. He's just as you'd imagine. I think the guys on the world, traveling on the World Cup circuit, you obsess about your boots and your tuning. You have to, right? What else are you going to do?
Well, yeah. There's certainly some big rabbit holes to go down there, isn't there? So tell me. I'm going to jump back to where we were, but tell me about how the schooling works. So these guys, I'm gonna suggest they train in the morning, and then they come back and do the schoolwork in the afternoon. So
we structure 6 3-hour tutorials per week. You'll have double school. This is a standard week.
Okay.
It usually falls out of that shape, and there's a lot of flexibility depending on, suddenly you've got a powder day. But you've got double school on a Sunday, so 2 3-hour sessions. Okay. Anyone who's just arrived on the Saturday, you wouldn't do that. So then you take them skiing in the morning, then tap into the afternoon session.
Yeah.
And then for full days training on the Monday, maybe some big mountain skiing, get all over the place, get some miles in. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've got school, usually sort of 2:30 to 5:30. So you go out, you ski, you have lunch. Maybe there's a few guys staying up for a clinic or doing some extra skiing here or there. But that's only if they're up with the school. You've got to make sure that whole school setup is organised beforehand. So we have a liaison officer. She's fantastic, Penny, who lives in Penny McLennan. Comes over from Chamonix most days a week, and she sets up a really good team of tutors, and they come in, do their job, sparkle, and head back out again. And that's the basic. There are 6 3-hour tutorials, and within the 18 hours, you can certainly keep up. Actually, more than keep up. You can. Oftentimes, the racers return home and they're ahead of school.
Really?
But because you've got the ratio. You've got 5 on 1. You've got, that's a start, isn't it? And particularly, say if you're dyslexic and you're waiting for more interventions, and you don't want to be sat there for 10 minutes with your hand in the air. So while for the teachers it's a little bit more complicated because the students are on different schemes of work. It's for them, I always think it's like a chess grandmaster playing 5 tables at the same time. But they'll be doing the physics and everything except chemistry practical, because we don't have a laboratory.
Okay.
But everything else can be organised beforehand, and as long as that triangle works of the liaison between the UK family, the UK school, and our team, then and it doesn't always, but 9 times out of 10 they arrive, they hit the classroom running. Wow. The funny thing is the initial approach to the schools, and there is no telling, Dave. Some are all for it, think you can see the merit immediately. Some assume that you can't possibly have any work going on a skiing holiday and refuse to set the work. So by not giving them the work, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It won't get done.
Yes.
But it's a pain in the neck. The schools are great because it's like having a mini Ofsted every time they have a student coming out.
Yeah.
What are you going to be working on at this time and this time and this time?
Yeah.
So they've got to be organised, and it is it's an onus on them to do extra work for this particular kiddie who's coming out. So we appreciate that.
Yeah. So here's what. So I apologise for this rant just before to all of the teachers that I may know that will be listening to this. I think you could quite easily reorganise school so that it would be even along the lines that you've just talked about, right? I think there's a lot of dead time in schooling, in general.
You don't say.
In school. There's a lot of, and I do this. I even looked at this when I used to work back in an office back in London, back in the day. You could condense your work probably into about 2 or 3 hours, the actual real work that goes on. The rest of it is kind of just standing around at the water cooler and doing, chit-chatting and idly wasting time. And the same to me looks a little bit the same with schools. In addition to the 3 months off a year that some of the international schools have around here, that's all dead time as well. Now, that would either manifest itself either in less pressure on the students if there was less time off, or you could get the same amount done in a shorter space of time, so that you would free yourself up to go skiing or play football or do whatever it is that the student is actually interested in, rather than a lot of the dead time that strikes me that's in the academic system. I've been thinking, it's on my bucket list of things to do is kind of reinvent a school along similar lines to what you're doing. Seems to me you're already doing it, so I'm not going to go into competition with you. It doesn't sound like you need any more competition. But yeah, there is no question that the students can keep up in a shorter period of the day. They don't need to be...
Well, some certainly can. There might be a problem that a lot of schools have, state schools perhaps, where you're constantly having to pitch the lower common denominator.
Yes.
And it strikes me that if a school can't get the work done in the 9 to 4 or the 8:30 to 3:30, whatever, then there is a problem. They shouldn't be sending the kids home with homework. What is this homework nonsense? That's a killer. Yeah. That's making a lot of families really miserable. So you end up where the mum or the dad ends up actually doing the work.
Yeah.
That's not right. Well, something doesn't sound right about that. I'm not an educationist, so I won't answer any of that. But we employ some very good teachers who seem to be able to get the work done in a reasonably short space of time.
Yeah,
because they're not distracted with other things, perhaps.
My initial thoughts on this came from something. I think it was the Park. Is it the Park City Academy? One of those in the US that has all of its curriculum available online. So actually, what a lot of those elite kids do in, say, Park City, for example, would be that they're abroad for the entire Northern Hemisphere winter. They're away racing in Europe or whatever. But the curriculum is available online. So if they've got a spare, half an hour or an hour while they're over there, they can just go on, access their work, go and do it. And because they haven't got someone, apparently this is what I heard anyway, I heard it somewhere, but because they haven't got someone sort of standing over them saying you must do this work, the responsibility turns 180 degrees, and the responsibility is then on the student, right? And the student is like, well, you've got to get to this point by this period, this point in time. Up to you to find out how you get there. All of the resources are available online, and the school is open whenever you're back in town. And it's just a completely different way of thinking about education. And I'm wondering, actually, I wonder if a lot of people's eyes are going to be open to this while we're in this kind of lockdown. I thought Malcolm's last minute story about how he managed to get out of Italy was a pretty good one. That'll go down certainly in British Ski Academy folklore, the day that they managed to escape the border closing around them. Certainly a lot of interesting stuff to say there, and I've certainly got my opinions on schools and how it could be done better. But I can see that there's a way. There's certainly another way that you could condense a lot of schoolwork in, but that probably doesn't work on a mass scale with schools in general. But maybe one day that will come in the future, and certainly with this situation that we've got now, sort of across the world, people are finding out that there is a way that you can educate your children at home, and maybe a different way of living in general. Actually, certainly less commuting to the office. Certainly, maybe this will open people's eyes to pointless meetings and pointless travel. But that's a bit of a tangent from me anyway. In this second half, we then sort of move on to something that I really wanted to ask Malcolm about, which was about the training progression and how, when and how, or what that looks like as to when you stop teaching specifics to people or athletes, young athletes in general, or indeed students, and then what it looks like what it looks like a little bit when you start to shape performance, what age that comes, how it works. So I managed to have a chat about that, and then I think we disappeared off onto a couple of tangents here and there about other subjects. So enjoy this second half wherever you are in Europe, and I've got a couple of other podcasts lined up now because everyone's sort of become available, so there's some really good content coming up, and I'll try and get those done and released so that at least you've got something ski related to listen to. So enjoy this second half, and I'll see you on the next one. Back into it. What I wanted really, one of the bits that I really wanted to talk to you about, because I think it's more from the coaching side rather than the educational side, which is interesting to a point, but we're here to talk about skiing ideally. When you're, you were saying to me that you've got kids there as young as sort of 7 or 8, and it goes all the way up through to 18. That presumably there comes a point where you stop teaching them, and then you're more kind of shaping their performance. You're going more from kind of teaching to coaching, I'd say. Is that fair to say that that's what your experience on the hill looks like?
Yes, I draw a parallel with education here. When you're at primary school, you have one teacher teaching everything. You advance to secondary, and then you have greater input from a variety of sources. Okay. Then you go through onto A-level and beyond, and you're self-managing. And your tutors are there to support you. I think on the coaching side, the number one thing, the philosophy of coaching has got to be encourage. If you're not encouraging, you're not giving anything. And that's so important because it's tough. The kids are in a situation that's, they're away from home and the skiing's fun. It should be fun. You should teach them, enjoy the mountains, respect the mountains and love what you're doing. We don't want entitled little brats not appreciating things and littering and swearing. And, that can be a battle.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of growing up that happens in an academy. There's a time for ski school and a time, private lessons, and then there's a time for ski clubs and ski academies. And when I say that we're inclusive, we're fairly broad, but we don't do basic ski instruction. That's something that, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but that's something that we have an agreement with the region, the autonomous region of Aosta, that we do not and will not function as a ski school. That's why we were invited to move from France, where we were running into all sorts of trouble because we were being viewed as a ski school, perversely, because we certainly weren't. And the agreement is that they would never challenge who we employ to coach our private race team. We do operate all over the world, and we just happen to need an alpine base. For 20 years it was in France, and now for 4 years it's been in Italy. And the Italians are very accommodating, and we're super happy where we are. The grooming's really good. We miss Germany in some respects, but the skiing is excellent in Pila and the surrounding resorts, so we get all we need there.
The grooming is good, isn't it? Like I have to say, compared to Switzerland, the way they groom the pistes in Italy is just out of this world. I always go early season to go ski in Cervinia, and my God, it's just brilliant over there. It's really, really brilliant. I'd heard that each piste, I don't know whether you can verify this as fact or not, but I'd heard that each kind of sector of piste is looked after by a guy with an individual contract, as opposed to it being...
That's news to me. They're doing something right.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to do it. Give everyone their own patch of land to make sure they look after it really well. But
in Pila, the head of the piste there is a top former coach and raced himself, a guy called Mauro Cornaz, who was a very good Italian World Cupper. And then he was the head coach for the French speed team. He was Luc Alphonse's coach when he won the overall.
Oh, wow.
Not many French have won it. They didn't win it this year. They came close. But he's you don't get anything past Mauro. He's really solid. And at the other resorts, generally you find that they're welcoming and friendly. There is quite a lot of pressure on training space, but we're partly because of having Alan is a big asset because everyone knows him, and it's like, the guy Lorenzo, who owns the hotel, he had a top 10 World Cup back in the day, but he's one of the guys. He's the head coach of Chamonix Club for the FIS, and his under 16 head coach is Federica Brignoni's dad. Oh, wow. So it's like a big family.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were escaping, I was the last van out, right? And the Grand Simbona, we got there and it was shut. It turned out it was due to roadworks.
Right.
When they finally opened, let us through at about 1:45. A van pulled up behind me. It was the Italian team van. I wondered if it was Federica trying to get out. Yeah. It turns out it was probably more likely a Swiss coach with an Italian team van. But the Italians are lovely, lovely, warm people. Yeah. I'm really so sorry for the hardships they're going through now. For their economy.
It's difficult. Let's talk later a little bit about the move from Cham to Italy. But I'm curious to explore more this kind of all right, you're not teaching kids how to ski, right? They can already ski when they come to you. But some of it, I imagine for the youngest, some of it must look a little bit like instruction, because you can't shape performance if the performance isn't there.
Oh, hey, look, all the best instructors are getting them to stand the right way, get their hands and the head in the right place, and get the feet doing the right things. Yeah. It's very similar. There's maybe with us, there's an expectancy that you're there to improve and there to work. And there's an ethos there. We've got enough. I've always been in the fortunate position that, you set up the arena and everything, but if you have a preponderance of athletes there who are really keen, then it pulls everyone else along. Yes. When sometimes you have an athlete with a lot of potential, but they're in a sort of holiday group, that you can hold them back. But equally, you can have a group of strong skiers, and there's one clown in there. Then that clown, if he's really causing problems, he's going to add on a few seconds to his time in his races, but he's going to add on a few tenths to everyone around him.
Yes.
So you've got to take this. So you have to have this attitude that has to. You've got to be. If you've got a problem, you should be pulling your hair out. You shouldn't. I'd hope. It's not always the case, but you'd hope that if any kid doesn't make it to fulfill their potential, that hasn't happened through negligence on your part running an academy.
Yeah.
And you look back every year and you think, okay, where can we improve, and what have we, what's been good, what's not been so good. Well, I mean, the fitness has been improving with us. We've had our own gym now for a few years. Yeah. But one of the things that strikes me is mental strength. The mental training. It's a huge, huge part of the game.
Do you do any of that?
That's part of the coaching to make sure that they're connecting with the kids and not just encouraging them but giving them the tools. Mm-hmm. But what we're trying to do if we talk about pre-FIS up to age of 15, you're not looking for perfection. Yeah. Your job as an academy is to develop the skills, the conditioning, and the attitudes, and then you look for perfection. More towards 17, 18, 19. That's when you're really trying to, ramp it up. But to answer your question, it's not. I don't know enough about ski school to tell you all the differences, except to say that it's if the kids love going fast and they've got it in them, then they'll be with other like-minded guys and they'll be steered.
Yeah. The one of the reasons that I asked this, because I worked a little bit this year. Well, I've got this kid that I know, and I used to teach him a little bit, but he's already kind of outstripped anything that I could tell him. I was quite lucky that his father asked me to have a little look at something last year that he didn't get, something that was lost in translation between sort of French and English, and we managed to find what that thing was last year. But oh, you still there?
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm congratulating you.
Oh well, it wasn't. It was weird. It was actually to do with the position of how he was holding his hands and where that put his balance. It took me ages to find. It took me hours to find, but we found it in the end. Anyway, the point was, I skied with him again this year, and I think he's 12 or 13, maybe. Yeah, I think 12 or 13. But when you look at him skiing, there isn't actually that much that you could look at and say, well, I changed that. So my, the question or the thing I wanted to talk to you about really came from, so is that the sort of age where, right, okay, you've got all the movements roughly in place, and now for the next few years, all we're going to concentrate is getting the training environment right, and that will gradually serve to get those movements to perfection later on down the line? Or are you still going into their individual technique at that point?
Well, now, that's a really good question. I'll say this, that some of the best athletes have self-taught from a young age, or they've not had all the quality coached out of them. You can overcoach. If you're constantly slowing someone down to get this or that right, yes, the slow drills are brilliant drills. If you can't do it at slow speed, then how can you expect to do it at high speed? Yeah. But you've got to have a large part of the training has got to be the freedom for them to express themselves on skis. My problem is when free skiing is sloppy skiing. Michaela Schifrin's always said that from a young age she was thinking about something. So a lot of concentration went into what she was doing. That was from her. Maybe her parents were encouraging her in the right way and not annoying her. But my rocker, my old mate's Martin Val, and Martin, he was driven, his mum, was just fierce. But he was one of those guys who had the capacity to train really hard and to think about it really hard. And he was always working on something on his skis. And that was... He was super strong as well, and that did help. But he was, on the technical side, he used to say when we were like 15, look, you guys are as good as me technically, but you're not as strong. And that was true. But he was very professional from a young age. And that's something where, okay, your students are going to make lifestyle choices, aren't they? They're going to decide if it's them, if they really want to take it seriously. Yeah. And you just want to have them in a position that when that clicks, that they decide, okay, I really want to get good. That they've got a decent foundation, and that you point them the right way. Yeah.
So a certain amount of this has got to come from within them, and that probably that's what separates the guys who didn't make it maybe from the ones that go all the way through, and I suppose that also applies. That can equally apply to kind of recreational skiing, ski instructor exams, that kind of stuff. life in general, I guess.
How many skiers can you think of who are unhappy because they never got the boots sorted? Who never advanced because they never got the suspension system sorted? It's that who knows? There are lots of things that can stop you. The ones who tend to get through, they've probably got some parents who are kind of taking an interest. I don't think you can become a champion unless you choose your parents wisely. I think parents make champions.
Yeah,
and if they're in a good coaching system, well, the coaching system won't wreck it. Won't get in the way too much, right? I mean, there's a lot that we know as coaches and a lot we can provide, but we don't. Let's make it clear we don't have all the answers, and we've got to be open to fresh ideas and constantly looking around because the sport does evolve. Things change, and you've got to keep abreast of that.
Yeah, it's true. Well, actually, it's funny you talk about boots because I talk about my own boot journey, but actually I'm still on this kind of quest. I think I've found the guy who seems to understand. But when you're you know as well as I do, when you're boots every day, they've got to be more or less perfect. Otherwise, any little aggravation does it. And it's actually I'm sitting here in my office and it's on my goals list for this year, and it says there, it's right near the top, comfortable ski boots. And I've struggled with boots for the last 2 years and then years and years before that, and it's been a constant sort of evolution to try and find the best setup for me, and I'm not far from it. And this year to be fair, even though it's a shorter season, I've had comfortable ski boots and ski boots that seem to respond well to what I'm asking them to do, and they're comfortable. Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference. But I wonder how many people have got the kind of the what would you obsessive sort of personality to keep hunting down new boot people and keep trying different stuff and that kind of thing. I guess there are a bunch of people who probably just fall out along the way of that process and never really find the solution.
Exactly. I think we get students who are inducting into the sport but have got a good background in all mountain skiing. We get quite a few of them.
All right.
I'd say we get more who are already in the sport, whether from skiing on dry slopes or indoor. And the ones that have come and are inducting into the sport, oftentimes their boots will be too big. Or there'll be various things that you want to check right away on their equipment for sure if you're going to give them a chance to, because otherwise you're just making the right moves but you're not being rewarded, you're not getting the feedback. So
there's a delay, right? There's a delay if your boot is too big. There's that extra few millimeters that the foot has to do before the equipment response is lost time, or it's lost accuracy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that anyone looking at kids' performance should be considering. I mean, when you're teaching little kids, you might say to them, okay, everyone do your boots up a bit tighter. Tighten them to the point where if you don't want them to hurt, but if it was any tighter, it would hurt. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you get to the bottom of the run, and there's a reason why racers aren't clipping their boots. So when you clip your boots, you go up the left, you do your boots up again.
Yeah. It's true. Do you know, I'm amazed how many ski instructors I see who start a lesson without checking their client's boots.
Yeah.
And it was something that...
and they wonder why they're swinging their shoulders. And
100%. And I go through, often new clients or clients that don't know me, I'll be like, look, this is how you do your boots up properly. This is how it should feel. If it doesn't feel like this, then you're not doing it right. And often I'll get them to do a run with their old setup, do their boots up properly, and then do a run with their other setup. And half my job is done already.
Bingo.
Because their feet is actually doing what they're asking it to do. And I can't remember who told me that. It was probably one of my old bosses, a guy called Ernest in Morjan. So thanks for that, Ernest. He won't be listening to this. But
Go Ernie.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a wise old sort of mountain sage guy from Morjan.
Well, a lot of things that simply haven't changed. All the basic principles.
No, but doing your boots up, one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and it's you can see it. You can see when clients aren't skiing properly with their equipment not done up. If your eye is right, you can see it. You can see that difference. Okay, cool. Do you? All right. So we took. You said something a minute ago. There's two other little tangents I'd love to go off on if you've got a moment. You said one about what makes a good parent, like a good sort of ski racing parent. You guys put in place all of the things that you can do, but it's got to come from the kid. But what does a good ski racing parent look like?
Well, It helps. It helps if they've had a background in sport themselves because they understand about the importance of training and probably equipment as well. But it's yeah. Now, I think the best parents are the ones who are going to be taking stress out of the situation rather than putting it on. But also, they're not going to. They want to check on what's going on. They don't want to be told, "Oh, you're a pushy parent." Hey, I wish my parents had been pushier. You need the parents on side, and that moral family support is essential for an athlete to get to a consequential level. So, what does a good parent look like? I don't know. They're all different, but you can, when you're talking to them, you can tell the ones have got their eye, they're tuned in to performance development.
Okay.
Personal development as well, because that's so important, right? It's not all about the ski racing, and I think the first and foremost, the parents want to know that the kids are going to be enjoying themselves and they're happy, and they're being looked after and they're safe. So that's all important. But they quite like to know that their kids are developing the right way and being pushed, and if there's a problem that's holding them back, that you're getting to grips with it. And so that's there's a lot to do with the pastoral care and chatting with the kids, which we're it would be so much easier if we had that €1 million start off. If we had 5 British academies with €1 million to start off for the season, you could employ more people and you could employ experts to come in and lecture and check up on the psychology as well as everything else.
Yeah. Oh, are you there? Oh dear.
It's a really good question about the parents, because you've got to look at you've got to win the parents over and educate them really if they're new to it. And oftentimes you'll get the dad who's really gung ho and loves the idea, and the mum is a bit concerned and I don't I really like little Johnny to be a lawyer or a doctor, and we don't want to spend a fortune on them going off on a tangent and just being being a dilettante sportsman. But I'll say this to any parents out there listening: if you've got an athlete in the sport and they're keeping to a fitness program and they're looking after their equipment, these are the two signals that show that they're in it for the right reasons and they're going about it the right way. Yeah. If they're really lousy at looking after their equipment and I don't want to do this, hey, darling Johnny, you don't have to do this. We can go and do something else.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money. Or do what my dad did to me, which is like ban them from skiing for a year until they come back with more respect and appreciate what they're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you?
That was my brother's fault. I still maintain I didn't know what was going on. We were skiing in Lake, and we were really bored with the ski school at that particular time. And at the end of our annual 2 weeks, my brother said, "Dad, we're not going to do ski school next year. We're too good. We don't need it anymore." He said, "You're doing ski school, or you're not coming." And he said the immortal words. I'm like looking at him, looking at Dad, and he said, "You wouldn't dare." Said,
"Oh no."
11 and a half months later, I'm like 8, Dom's 9 or 7 and 8, something like that. He starts packing. We start packing. He said, "What are you doing?" Said, "Well, we're packing." "No, you're not. You're going to go and stay with your granny for 2 weeks." He said, "You wouldn't go to ski school." We did not get our skiing that year. By gum, we showed him respect after that.
Your brother ruined it for Oh dear. One other thing you just mentioned a bit earlier, which I'd love to explore a little bit more, you must see loads of this, is the group dynamics, which I find fascinating. I've been on 2 ends of group dynamics. So I particularly remember going for, I think it was a technical exam, level 3, maybe something like that. And I was in a really, really strong group that sort of just dragged the dynamic of the group. There's some good skiers in it. And it dragged everybody along with them, and everyone was skiing to a really, really good level. And I think almost everyone in that group passed. And even the guys that didn't pass,
improved a lot.
We all tried to help. We did our absolute best as a group. And then I've also been in the situation on another exam where I've been the worst in the group. And that was a really, I was able to kind of detach myself from what was happening a little bit, but look at the group dynamics of that. And basically, you're the odd man out. Like the guy that nobody wants to speak to. I've been in a group like that, and it was proper, I don't know, what is it, Lord of the Flies kind of experience. You got your rubbish.
That's terrible, man.
But it does happen. It does happen. And presumably you see that a lot with Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, in that situation, probably everyone's out for themselves. It's an exam. I'll pass, you won't. I'll never see you again, kind of thing.
Oh, it's all sorts of competitions going in within it.
Yeah, probably.
The Norwegian ski team. I always remember when I was tagging around with the British team, and the Norwegians, they loved each other. They were a band of heroes, band of brothers. They all worked for each other, and they were super nice to each other. And the aura that came off that team was positive, nothing but positive all the time. That's back. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if it's still the same. It probably is. They just seem to be nice people who were keen. If they didn't win, but their buddy wins, that's good too.
I heard it was exactly like that, except for Kristoffersen.
Yeah, he's a case apart, isn't he?
He's very special.
I like it for the television, throwing his sticks around, and that's fine. I
kind of like him as an anti-hero.
They probably all have a laugh at his expense. Anyway, Kilder won the overall, so good job, Kilder.
No, it's great. So, you see group dynamics in action, presumably over longer periods of time, right?
All sorts. Well, certainly within a group. I mean, I like it when I've got two coaches with one group, so you got front and back, and you can really control it the best way. But there's all sorts of dynamics in action. I mean, in an academy, it's kind of like put a fly on the wall. It's like Big Brother house. There's all sorts of things happening. I'll say this with the dynamics between within a group or within clubs within a region. What you need. This is enlightenment, right? You need your training buddies to be as good as possible, so that you can then try and beat them, and it means something. If you're going to be the best, in the world, you constantly want your local standard to be as high as possible, and that will bring you along. And just destroying the team, destroying everyone else, it's actually self-defeating. So at every level, you need this positive environment where although it's not a team sport, you have good team interaction and you respect for each other, and get to the bottom, win, lose or draw, you shake hands.
Yeah. But there must have been guys who have come through over the years, thinking in all sorts of sports and all sorts of, not only in skiing, but there must have been guys who have come through, destroyed every single age group that they've ever come through. Just being the best by miles all the time.
Well, Martin Bell. Martin was at 12. He almost won the under-16 British Championship. He very nearly did, and he won it 13, 14, and 15. In those days, it was merely under-16. He won it 3 times in a row. It was phenomenal. The kid was absolutely phenomenal. When he was 17, he was ranked 2 in the world for his age in giant slalom. People don't know that. They think he was just a downhiller. It's actually the guys at Stam said, you're British, you better only do downhill because you guys cannot down. So he became a downhiller. But he could, he still got our best Super G result, and he could have been a really good GS skier. He was our best slalom skier for a number of years, actually. Had the best points for quite a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been. You say destroyed the competition. I think that, in Martin's case, good luck. He deserves everything. This is a kid who got all his hires at, was it 14, equivalent of just below A level, but he got all A grades. This is, he's a freak.
Yeah.
We shared a flat together, right?
After
he made some money from the '88 Olympics. Not as much as Eddie, but still a fair bit.
Yeah.
And we got a flat, and he was just training like a beast even then. It was fantastic. But it was meant to be a bachelor flat in London, right? But he moved his girlfriend in. I can't believe it. She was a very nice girl, but it was like he'd come home and there'd be dinner on the table. It was the wrong sort of dynamic. It wasn't what I had in mind. Yeah, but he deserved everything. He worked so hard. And anyone who scored points, any Brit who scores World Cup points, like top 30, for me, that's the goal. What are we doing this for? To give everyone a love of the sport and encourage people in the sport, but actually at the top level, it's about those guys who make World Cup points. We've got a couple more from BSA on the list now, with Charlie Guest scoring her first points and Lauren Taylor his first points. So another couple of gold stars.
But I imagine, though, that those guys who do come up through the ranks and are destroying every age group, presumably they bump up against the limit of their ability somewhere, right? When you imagine when you arrive at the World Cup or something, everyone's good there, and that must be quite interesting psychologically for them, having been used to winning all the time, and all of a sudden you're getting beaten every week.
Yeah, the other thing is you need buddies, because you train as teams, right? Sometimes you get placements. You can have, I don't know, Shemi training with the Germans, Martin training with the Americans. I don't know. You can go and train with other teams, but you're on the road and it's tough. The ideal is to have a group around you. So just to keep it friendly.
Yeah.
And spur each other on, right?
Yeah.
But there's business about people coming through and being the top and the best all the way from a young age. It's very rare, and I've got to tell you that oftentimes it doesn't transfer into FIS and international racing.
Right.
For that very reason, that it's better if you've got a group of ockers around you, who are all chatting about it in the off season. If you're just on your own in the off season, then it's like, it's harder to keep thinking about it and keep the motivation. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing, and that's another thing, talking about motivation. Our job at an academy is to stoke the fire. Well, your job, first of all, is to get them going, right?
Yeah.
And then we can help step it up and stoke that fire. And if the national teams do a good job, then they really build that fire. The sad thing for us in Britain is that oftentimes the national teams haven't really worked at all, and have been badly run. So I'm not saying it's badly run now. I think they've got some really good coaching in there and a lot of good things happening. But there's no sponsorship, or not enough. They have to pay, $35,000 to take up the place on the team.
Oh, really?
It's a shocking situation. There is not a sponsor for the British Alpine Ski Team.
No way.
Dave should be earning money. It should be.
Yeah. I assume he was.
Profession, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Guys, it's not spring chicken.
When I make it big with the ski school, I'll come in with the big bucks, and it'll all be all right.
Well, if Jim Ratcliffe's listening, you never know. Come on, you're sponsoring the cycling. Get stuck in with the skiing. We're clean, and we've got some great guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's finish off on this last topic. This sort of we touched on it a couple of times, but the move from Chamonix to Italy. Now, I've spoken to our mutual friend Simon about this, and he said you have a bit of a story to tell. But what prompted that, apart from the Italian food being better, coffee's better?
Oh no,
training
we were thrown out.
Better.
Make no mistake, we were thrown out. We were welcome for a long time, then suddenly we weren't welcome anymore, and it was bizarre. And the best that I can explain it is that there were some very strange people at the in that French system who were making career moves on scoring really hollow victories.
Right.
That were self-defeating. I mean, it didn't butter any parsnips with the guys down in Grenoble that we were really helping the local economy in that end of the Chamonix Valley. We were begging them to leave us alone and that we weren't a ski school. We were demonstrably not a ski school. Our head coach was the former head World Cup technical coach for the Canadian team. Mm-hmm. And we were being harassed. And it got to the stage where I had all these come on, my French, it's been 4 years. I kept getting these sort of summonses to come into the cop shop and talk about nonsense. Yeah. And the word will come to you in a minute. Anyway, the final time I'd had enough, and I said, look, we'll make an appointment, and I'll come in with my lawyer at the end of the season, and we'll straighten a few things out. And let's do it that way, because there's only a few weeks to go. Mm-hmm. And he said, no, you will come in. I tell you to come in. You must come in. I said, I understand what you're saying. He said, will you come in? I said, no, when I come in with my lawyer, he's on a big case at the moment. You have to give it a few weeks. Mm-hmm. We do not wait for your lawyer. You will come in, or we'll come and arrest you. We'll come and arrest you and put you in handcuffs in front of all your parents and children. I said, I understand what you're saying. I'll come in with my lawyer at the end. Right, that's it. We're coming to get you. Where are you? Actually, I don't know what I said. I think Italy, checking out a new place. Yeah. Well, I mean, I looked around, and there was, funny enough, you say Chambéry was one of the places that was interested in having us relocate there, and a couple of other places, Bregenz, Zinal. But we ended up in Aosta because with help from Armin Moman from Momentum Ski, he had the contacts with the politicians, and we got the what is it, the governor, or the minister for tourism, trade, sport, pretty much the lot. He presented us with a letter with stamps all over it, inviting us to bring our academy to his corner of Italy, the autonomous region of Aosta. Yeah. And I've mentioned before that we can employ who we want to coach the kids. I mean, we do employ qualified people, but as long as we weren't operating as a ski school and giving lessons even to family members. Yes. So there you are. That's fine. Then you jump through, quite right. You jump through various hoops and follow that route. Yeah. But that's not what we do. So thank you very much. And here we are. And we've been made very welcome there. And I'm very, very sorry, because I've got to say that Chamonix is still a cool place. Yeah. And I'm very fond of Les Houches. I've left lots of friends there. And it seems I mean, if those who like it quiet, they should be very relieved we're gone. But I think a lot of little businesses it really hurt them that we took all our trade elsewhere. We've got some very popular races. The schools race in March, you get 350. Well, actually, nearly 500 races were coming with all the mums and dads.
Yeah.
We had three concurrent competitions. It was a great setup, and it meant that the resort for sort of 4 or 5 days in January and 4 or 5 days in March in low season went back to being high season prices and were full.
Yes.
And that's gone now. That's moved, and it's just nuts that we weren't doing anyone any harm. You could understand if they thought that we were, if we were running drugs or something. We were being treated like criminals, and it was just silly. It was what it was.
Right. I mean, Simon's experience is similar, I think, but but slightly sort of technically different. I was always under the impression that race clubs and race camps, coaches, whatever, were always more or less left alone.
We seem to have got into crosshairs, and I don't know. I'm still a bit bemused about the whole thing. We were denounced apparently that we were giving lessons, and they pursued us on that. And the chief of police there at the PGHM in Chamonix said, "Well, why don't you just employ French instructors, and all these problems will go away?"
Yeah.
So, well, you're not listening, are you?
Yeah.
But get this. I don't know if you heard this, Dave, but for 3 days, this is what 4 or 5 years ago now, 4 years ago, we were. I was on the run because he wanted me to come in. I refused
right.
to answer a spurious summons, and I holed up in Teen with where the nationals were taking place, the seniors, and the following week was the children's nationals in Teen, British nationals, and for 3 days they sent 2 van loads of gendarmes, or maybe 3, I don't know. They sent the PGHM over from Chamonix to Teen to hunt me down, and I'm on a knoll videoing right on the Super G hill, and the radio someone says, "Malcolm, there are cops there. They're showing pictures of you. They're trying to find you. They're asking where you are." I said, "Well, don't tell them. Tell them I went that way." Next day, "Malcolm, they're back. Malcolm, they've got guns and they've got skis. They're putting the skis on." So, geez. So I made a rapid escape, cross piece, bot. Then I thought they'd gone, and I'm having a burger with a buddy at the Aspen Bar. I don't know if anyone knows that area. Right. And my buddy says, "Malcolm, look, gendarmes." There's these 2 big guys standing about 3 meters away, looking the other way. Oh my God! Scuttle around behind the burger van, chucked the guy my van keys, and I just worked my way through the arcade, then up the flight to Valcarre, and got back to the apartment, got my passport, got my wallet. Okay, how am I going to get out? I'm seeing helicopters and thinking, oh my God, how much money are they going to spend? Is there a roadblock? Well, I just got out of there. I did not want to have what Simon did and been bunged up in a prison cell, and
These are the stories that people tune into the Ski Podcast for. This is the classic stuff.
Well, I don't know if anyone else. I suppose if you've never been jailed, you've not really lived. I eventually went in, as agreed. I went in. My lawyer hadn't turned up, drunken idiot. Yeah. But I had another lawyer advising me, a parent in Paris, and he said, "Malcolm, you can't not go in because I'm having a very nice coffee and a croissant in Chamonix Centre." Okay. So the appointment's at 9. I go in at 5 to 9. 9 o'clock, I'm under arrest. I'm fingerprinted, cuffed, mug shots, a lot. You didn't catch me though, did you?
Oh dear!
And it was all a load of nonsense.
And what comes of that? It's so short-sighted.
That was a strange tale.
Yeah, but what comes of that? It's so short-sighted, right? Because you've moved the whole thing. The whole thing.
Oh no, not short-sighted at all. The people who were gaining advantage of it, they were scoring these hollow victories. They kicked out the Ski Club of Great Britain, right?
Yeah.
What harm were they doing? Yeah. I mean, you could make a case either way. You say, well, why didn't you comply? You couldn't. Our position, what we were doing, we couldn't comply. What we could have done would have been effectively payola. Okay, so we're just going to buy your licenses, buy your French licenses at 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is, X number of people. How much money do you actually need to make you go away and leave us alone?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that mafia route.
No.
So au revoir, Philippe. Good luck. And I've got lots of friends over in France, and I'm really sorry because it's a beautiful country, but we had a horrid time at their hands. And I hope that Simon gets compensation and then steers me towards getting some of that too.
Well, that's true. Actually, it does remind me. I need to follow that up with Simon because he did say come back to us and let us know how it went. So I'll double check with him on that. But that's awesome. Look, Malcolm, I think I've taken up enough of your time. What I always do at the end of this is I give everyone a chance to plug what they're doing. So where can people find you if they want to find you?
Well, we're a secret organisation, and we'll find you first. No, seriously. I've got to say that you must have, I imagine you've got lots of listeners out there with talented little skiers, and if they want to step up and have a go at the sport, then direct them towards britskiacad.org.uk. Just Google British Ski Academy. There you go. Okay. And you'll get through to us.
I'll put that in the notes to the podcast so that everyone can click straight to it.
And best of luck to everyone out there, and wherever you are, all you skiers, hang fire. You'll be back.
Yeah, hopefully this is all just going to blow over and it's not as serious as everyone says it is. So we'll be back on snow soon enough. It's not long to the start of the glacier season, so we'll all be all good.
Cheers, Dave. Thanks. Enjoyed chatting to you. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Malcolm. See you soon.